There was once upon a time a mother who had 3 daughters, the eldest of whom was rude and wicked, the second much better, although she had her faults, but the youngest was pious and a good child. The mother was, however, so strange, that it was just the oldest daughter whom she most loved, and she could not bear the youngest. On this account, she often sent the youngest daughter out into the great forest in order to get rid of her, for she thought she would lose herself and never come back again. But the guardian angel, which every good child has, did not forsake her, but always brought her back into the right path again. Once, however, the guardian angel behaved as if he were not there, and the child could not find her way out of the forest again. She walked on constantly until evening came, and then she saw a tiny light burning in the distance, ran up to it at once, and came to a little hut. She knocked, the door opened, and she came to a second door, where she knocked again. An old woman, who had a snow-white hair and looked venerable, opened it for her. She said quite kindly, "Come, dear child, have a seat on my little chair by the fire, and warm yourself. I will fetch you water if you are thirsty, but here in the forest, I have nothing for you to eat but a couple of bones which you must scrape and boil first." The lady gave her the half-eaten bones. The girl scraped them clean. Then she brought a piece of jerky and the rice that her mother had given her to take with her, mixed all together in a pan, and cooked herself a thick soup. When it was ready, the old lady said, "I am so hungry, give me some of your food." The child, quite willing, and gave her more than she kept herself, but ancestors' blessing was with her, so that she was satisfied. When they had eaten, the lady said, "Now we will go to bed. I have, however, only one bed, you can lay in it yourself." "I will lie on the ground on the straw." "No," answered the little girl. "Stay in your own bed, the straw is soft enough for me," the lady said. The old lady, however, took the girl's arm in her arms, and carried her into the little bed. The lady chanted a spell, and fell asleep. Next morning when she awoke, she wanted to say good morning to the kind lady, but she did not see her. Then she got up and looked for her, but could not find her anywhere. At last, she perceived, behind the door, a bag with money so heavy that she could just carry it, and on it was written that it was for the girl who had slept there that night. On this note, she took the bag, bounded away with it, and got safely to her mother, and as she gave her mother all the money, she could not help being satisfied with her. The next day, the second child also took a fancy to go into the forest after seeing how happy mother was to the youngest daughter. Her mother gave her a much larger portion of rice and a bonus of ox jerky. It happened with her just as with the first child. In the evening, she came to the old lady's little hut, who gave her bones for soup. When it was ready, she likewise said to her, "I am hungry, give me some of your food." Then child said, "You may have your share afterwards." When the lady offers her bed and wanted to lie on the straw, she replied, "No, lie down in the bed, there's plenty of room for the both of us." The lady took her in the arms and put her in the bed, and laid herself on the straw. In the morning when the child awoke and looked for the lady, she had vanished, but behind the door she found a little sack of money that was as long as a hand, and on it was written that it was for the child who had slept there last night. So, she took the little bag and ran home with it, and took it to her mother, but she secretly kept 2 pieces for herself. The eldest daughter had by this time grown curious, and the next morning also insisted on going out into the forest. Her mother gave her rice with her as much as she wanted, and jerky and ginger as well. In the evening, she found the lady in her little hut, just as the 2 others had found her. When the soup was ready and the lady said, "I am so hungry, give me some of your food," the girl answered, "Wait until I am satisfied, then if there is anything left, I will share with you." She ate, however, nearly all of it, and the lady had to scrape the dish. Afterwards, the good old lady offers her bed, and wanted to lie on the straw. She took it without making any opposition, laid herself down in the little bed and left the hard straw to the white-haired lady. Next morning when she awoke, the lady was not to be found, but she did not trouble herself about that. She looked behind the door for the money bag. She fancied something was lying on the ground, but as she could not very well distinguish what it was, she stooped down and examined it closely, but it remained hanging to her nose, which was hanging fast to her own. Then she began to scream and howl, but that did no good. She was forced to see it always on her nose, for it stretched out far. A wart had grown overnight. Dark and ugly, the wart sat high. Then she ran out and screamed without stopping till she met the old lady, at whose feet she fell and begged until out of pity, she took the wart nose off her again, and even gave her 2 coins. When she got home, her mother was standing before the door, and asked, "What did the forest give you?" Then she lied and said, "A great bag of money, but I have lost it on the way." "Lost it?" The mother cried, "Oh, but we will soon find it again," and took her by the hand, and wanted to seek it with her. At first, she began to cry, and didn't want to go back, but at last she went anyways. Entering the forest, the clouds stayed dark. Foot into the forest, the vision had nearly disappeared. A glow shone ahead of the mother as she ran towards the light. Standing at the end, the old lady's long tongue torched the forest bright. Fearing the worst, the daughter ran off into the forest by herself. The mother, still as a statue, stood still as for not to be seen. A snake bit her leg, however she did not move. More snakes crawled onto the mother as she could not move out of fear, though poison reeked inside her veins, she was yet to move. Swollen and blue was the death of the mother. For the eldest daughter, she ran blindly through the woods and strangled herself through vines she didn't see. She hung her body feet off the ground, for her neck had stretched twice its length. At last, the spirit of the forest wrapped its arm around the child to death, and the creature of the dark filled the mother full of poison because she had not brought her up better.